Warning: the following video was made before Player Core 2 came out for Pathfinder 2e and so uses some options from before the Pathfinder Remaster project took effect. This build may need slight adjustments after Player Core 2 comes out. Hello YouTube and welcome to SciPrime Productions. I'm here to help enhance your tabletop gaming experience. Alright, welcome back to the third part in my series on how to make draconic characters in Pathfinder 2e. If you're just joining us, Paizo, makers of Pathfinder 2e, has announced that there will be a new versatile heritage coming out in Player Core 2, allowing people to make dragon-like characters. However, I realize that you don't need this versatile heritage to make a draconic character in Pathfinder 2e. Don't get me wrong, the new option is great, and if you're excited for it, I do not want to take that away. I'm just saying there are other options too. So, as per usual, I do have a bit of a preamble to get through before we get to the build, and the preamble is that this build is gonna be a bit weird. Now, don't get me wrong, it fits all the criteria of my other two draconic builds. It's a build that looks draconic, it can do decently in melee combat, and it has those typically draconic features, that is to say a natural attack or something that could be mistaken for a natural attack. It has a breath weapon, or something that is breath weapon-like, and it can fly. It just accomplishes all of these abilities in a way that is unconventional? So, no more beating around the bush, let's make this character. And as always, when making a Pathfinder 2 character, we start with the ABCs of character creation, and A stands for Ancestry, and here's where we hit the first issue. For Ancestry, I'm going to pick Poppet. If you don't know, a poppet is a small creature-looking object like a toy or small statue. They often start life as an animated object before somehow gaining a soul, and so yes, our poppet is going to be a dragon plushie. Poppets were first introduced in the book Grand Bazaar and are mostly small-sized, but there is an option for tiny poppets. Anyway, despite being made of cloth and fluff, I'd say being made to look like a dragon satisfies our requirements to, well, look like a dragon. Now, the Poppet Ancestry is rare and, well, let's face it, a bit silly and oddball, so talk with your GM before making one. But assuming they say yes, let's move on to heritage. There are a bunch that you could choose from. Your dragon poppet could be a child's toy that some kid wished hard enough to become alive. Yes, that's a thing that happens in Pathfinder. That would make a good story for a toy or wishborn poppet. But I said our poppet would be a plush, so for this video, let's go with stuffed poppet. That makes our size small, or about the size of a golden retriever, so yeah, pretty big for a dragon plush. Moving on to ancestry feats, many of them could be useful, but let's choose quadruped. This gives us a move speed of 30 as we run on all fours because, spoiler alert, we won't be using our weapons much with this build. Lastly, the Poppet attribute adjustments are a boost to Constitution, Charisma, and one free boost with a penalty to Dexterity. But we're going to want Dexterity for this build, so let's take the optional rule and switch that up for 2 free boosts with no penalties, which I will put into Dexterity and Constitution. Moving on, B is for background. Now, if your GM allows rare backgrounds, the Wished Alive background from Guns and Gears would be thematic, especially if you want to go the route of being a child's toy wished alive. Luckily, the Eidolon Contact background from the book Secrets of Magic is common, and it works just as well. Maybe some magical energy exploded from our owner when they developed their summoner powers and got a dragon Eidolon, and that awakened us? Anyway, the background gives us our choice of spellcasting skill. Let's go with Occultism. Occultism seems like the skill for a wish making a stuffed dragon come alive. We also get the choice of a lore skill related to an Eidolon we contacted, so dragon lore. We also gain the Dubious Knowledge skill feat, which makes sense for a dragon with no formal education suddenly gaining sentience. Eidolon Contact gives us a bonus to Constitution or Charisma. We choose Constitution. It also gives us a boost to one other attribute. Let's go with Dexterity again. And now C is for class, and for this build we're going to want to go with Kineticist. Right off the bat, before we make any decisions, Kineticist is a high constitution class that has 8 HP per level and can get a decent AC. That means that our character can hold their own in melee combat pretty well, which satisfies our second requirement. Additionally, all Kineticists get the Elemental Blast feature, which can be a melee strike that looks unarmed, so yeah, that's something approaching a natural attack. Now, Kineticists are a pretty involved and technical class, and I'm not going to get into them here. There are plenty of videos discussing exactly how Kineticists work online. I'll link one of them in the description below if you are fuzzy on the rules. For now, I'll assume you know the generals of how a Kineticist works, and we'll talk about the class features. For our kinetic gate, let's go with dual gate, metal, and air. Now, starting off with metal and air gates will be the easiest for me to describe, but there are other ways to go about this build, just to let you know. The important thing for this build is that to be as thematic as possible, we need to have both air and metal gates by level 10. As for your first level Kineticist's feat and impulses, choose your favorite, whatever you want. As a Kineticist, we are automatically trained in nature and 3 other skills, plus your intelligence modifier, pick your favorites. There are also a few other things Kineticists get. I will list them up on screen now. Finally, we get 4 attribute boosts. Let's go with Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, and Intelligence. For our equipment, we don't need much. Studded leather armor or something equivalent would top off our AC. That's why I wanted our character to have as high a dexterity as they did. You see, Kineticists have light armor proficiency, and I wanted to max out that dex cap of +3. Quilted armor would be thematic for our plush character, but it is a bit suboptimal. The choice is up to you. At higher levels, we really only need 2 things to tie this build together: the impulses Cyclonic Ascent and Wretch Rust. Cyclonic Ascent is an air impulse that lets you fly for 10 minutes, but it has no resource cost, so you can just fly for 9 minutes and cast it again to reset the duration and keep going indefinitely. Wretch Rust is a metal impulse that lets you breathe out a cone of iron filings, giving you a breath weapon that deals slashing damage. Unfortunately, both of these are level 8 impulses, so you can get one at level 8 and one at level 10 in whichever order you want. And that finishes off our last 2 requirements, the ability to fly and a breath weapon. Now, one last thing. Wretch Rust is the only impulse I could find that explicitly talks about breathing out an attack. However, if you and your GM are up for a little re-flavoring, you could maybe flavor other attacks as breath weapons. For example, there is the fire impulse Blazing Wave, which just says a cone of flames, quote, flow out of you, unquote. If reflavoring is cool with you and your GM, maybe you could treat that as a breath weapon. Just remember, to do any impulse, you need a hand free, even if the attack is coming from the mouth. It's just a game balance thing. And that's it for today. Now, if your players are making dragon characters and you need an evil dragon-slaying NPC to go up against them, check out my book, The NPC Omnibus, filled with 36 NPCs from creature levels -1 to 10, representing most current player character classes. Check it out at DriveThruRPG or PathfinderInfinite.com, and hey, leave a review if it's not too much trouble. It'd really help me out. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That tells not only me, but also YouTube that you'd like this kind of content and would like to see more. And until then, thank you, good luck, and happy gaming!